Gooseberries and currants are ideal for growing in smallish places with high yields. They're perfect for small acreage homesteads. They're both extremely cold hardy, and if planted in the right location, they'll grow in hot climates. Gooseberries and currants favor a cool, moist climate. The hot winds dry out their leaves. But if you live in a hot, dry region, then just provide them with some shade, like on the north side of your house or north side of the wall under a shade tree, and then they'll grow really easily. In fact, you can actually grow both of these in almost all shade where most plants won't grow or even produce. All of my gooseberries and currants are grown under this grape arbor. I can really maximize the growing space by putting these small fruits right underneath these grapes. Both of these berries thrive in almost any soil, but they actually really like heavy clay soils, unlike most plants. Both of these berries will do well in a pH range between a 6 and an 8. If you're below a 6, then you will want to bring your pH up just a little bit. And you can just do this by adding some garden lime to the soil. Even though these plants do like heavy soil, they do like it to drain well. So work plenty of well-rotted compost or manure in the native dirt that you're going to be planting these berries. When you're planting your berries, you don't need to plant them deeper than the pot that they come in, but you do need to go wider. And I like to go at least twice as wide as the pot itself, and 3 times as wide is even better, incorporating that manure and that compost with that soil. Once you've got your plant in the ground, then firm the soil in around it and water it well. If you're planting more than one plant, then a good spacing is at least 4 foot apart. Once your berry plants are well established and have a good root system, they're actually quite drought tolerant and don't require a lot of water. But if you live in an area that it's hot or you're experiencing a dry spell, especially when the berries are on, you'll want to give them some regular water. Gooseberries, unlike currants, do have some thorns, and some varieties have more than others. So you might want to wear some gloves when you're planting them, and especially when you're picking them. When gooseberries start to ripen, they start to get a little pinkish, reddish hue on the tops of their shoulders. And these are really great to make things like your jams and your jellies. And then when they start to get riper, they develop this full-on color. And this is when they become a little bit sweeter, and they're great for making things like crisp. And I'll provide a really good crisp recipe link below. If you'll notice, the ones on the top have a really dark color because they're seeing more sunshine. And so the ones underneath are more green. They're not getting that sunshine, so it takes them a lot longer to ripen and become sweeter. When currants are ripe, they should have their full color. This is a black currant right here, and it should be full on black in color and should have a little softness to them. Red currants should be nice and red, full on red color with a little bit of squishiness to them. Same thing with whites. They should be a little soft, but they'll develop a little bit of a yellow color to them. You can dry your currants and use them in granolas or cereals, or just munch on them for later, or you can just freeze them or make preserves, jellies, and jams. And in the springtime, when currants bloom, it has such a fruity, delightful, sweet, light smell. It's really delightful. They're almost worth it just for the blossom themselves. The nice thing about gooseberries and currants is you don't have to be in a 911 to get them all harvested when they're ripe, because they'll actually stay on the bush for a week or 2 and they'll be just fine. Unless you got some squirrels or some birds that want them, then you better get them harvested. Gooseberries and currants both have a little tail on them. It's just their blossom end. And you're going to want to remove this tail because it doesn't taste very good, especially if you're using it fresh. But if you're drying these, then they just fall off naturally. In the early springtime is when you want to fertilize your berries. And I just use a soft rock phosphate. I'll just sprinkle it over the surface and put compost over the top, and that's all I do for the rest of the year, and they do great. Pruning can be done to shape your bush, keep it to the size that you want, give it good branch structure, and it also opens it up so that you have more airflow, so that you don't have pests and disease. When we prune gooseberries and currants, we want to prune right after we harvest all of the berries off of it, because that allows for some new growth, and that new growth that will produce this year will produce berries next year. This gooseberry bush is really overgrown because I didn't prune it back last year. So what I'll do after I harvest, I'll go in here and I'll remove about every other branch, and preferably the older branches. Gooseberries and currants are prohibited in some states and countries because they're a host for the white pine blister rust. So check your area to make sure that you can grow them. So if you've ever ordered them online and didn't get them, that's probably why. You can make more cuttings of gooseberries and currants, but that's another video, so subscribe so that you can get notifications of when we do that one. These two small fruits are packed full of vitamin C, and they're the perfect complement for small plots and homesteads. Give them a try. That noise was going on too long. You might want to bring it down with what? That's doopy doopy doo doo doo. It's wide. It's better. The next, what is that? Pruning next year. Pruning, picking. I'm getting more. And you can make cuttings, Luna, subscribe, so that you can see notifications of what I'm saying.
I thought that was fine.